like to invite Dylan Hepp to come forward and lead us in the pledge. If we'd all stand and face the flag.
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Dylan, come to the microphone and tell us what brings you here tonight.
I'm here from Troop 429 to try and get my citizenship in the community merit badge to become a life scout, and I'm here to take notes on the water tank storage. So,
good to have you here tonight, Dylan.
Thank you.
Welcome. Good job. Do I have a motion to approve the consent agenda? Motion by Councilmember Wynn, second by Councilmember Diamond. Anyone in the audience have any questions regarding the consent agenda? All in favor of the motion, raise their hands. Passes unanimously. It's my pleasure to read a proclamation regarding our financial managers. And whereas the Association of Government Accountants, AGA, is a professional organization, part of the Association of Government Accountants, which has a network of 15,000 members in 99 chapters in the United States and around the world, and approximately 260 active members representing state, federal, municipal, and private sector accountants, audits, and financial managers in Georgia. And whereas the certified government financial managers promote quality and ethics in the financial management throughout government, and the AGA is working to advance government accountability throughout the CGFMA's programs, and whereas, and this is the Certified Government Financial Managers certification, requires a sound education background, several years of experience, and a solid sense of ethics. And Georgia State Auditor and the Georgia Department of Audits and Accountants recognizes the Certified Government Financial Manager certification. And whereas these financial managers serve the public interest in accordance with the highest ethics principles, and whereas the Georgians are fortunate to have government employees who excel in the workplace, and these hardworking men and women demonstrate dependability, initiative, and practical stewardship of state resources, certified government financial managers play an important role among these outstanding professionals. Now, therefore, I, Jerry Wood, Mayor of the City of Roswell, do here proclaim the month of March 2013 as Certified Government Financial Managers Month, and encourage all of our citizens to recognize the importance of these ladies and gentlemen and strive for efficiency, effectiveness, and certified financial management. And Kay, would you invite our certified government accountants forward tonight who are present here?
Mr. Mayor, I don't know if anyone from the AGA is present. Mr.
No,
Lee,
we're talking about our folks in the City of Roswell.
We do not have any any certified financial managers. We have other certifications, but this program, we do not currently have any folks who are certified in this program. There is also another program, I won't say that it competes, but it certainly complements, and it's a CPFO. I believe Mr. Lee is pursuing that certification.
CPFO.
And at one time I had it, but it has not been recertified, so I'm no longer.
Well, I get confused by all these things. Well, let's. I want to appreciate the Certified Government Financial Managers Month and all the good work they do. And next we have a resolution, House Bill 176, cell tower siting. Mr. Davidson, would you at first explain what this resolution is about?
Thank you, Mayor. Basically, there's a proposal in the legislature right now that, if approved, would limit the city from some of the regulation authority we have over cell tower siting in the city right now. Under the new legislation, the city would be prohibited from evaluating an application for a new tower solely based on the availability of potential locations, would prohibit the city from requiring the removal of existing towers as a condition of approval of a new tower unless the tower is abandoned. It would prohibit the city from placing height limitations or restrictions on a tower. It would prohibit the city from imposing new surety requirements, which is basically the bonds that ensures that a tower would be removed if the company goes out of business. And it would prohibit the city from requiring the tower to be sited on publicly owned land as an alternative to a proposed location that they have come up with. We wouldn't be able to charge a rental fee or a license fee any higher than the market rate. And that would be something that would have to be agreed on between the cell company and the city. And if not, we would be forced to go to a mediation, which, was somebody else's idea, not mine. And also, the city would not be able to charge an inspection or review fee for a new tower that is greater than any other fee that's charged for similar activities within the city. So basically, it was severely limit the city's authority.
Councilmember Wynn.
Mr. Davidson, isn't there something also in that bill about 150 days? If we do not make a decision in 150 days, that we give up our right to do anything with cell towers?
If an application comes in and we don't approve it within 150 days, then it's automatically deemed approved.
So if we have more than 4, 5, or 6 applications, one could actually go over that 150 days?
It's possible,
Okay,
yes.
Thank you.
Do we have a motion?
Motion to approve the resolution.
Motion by Councilmember Wynn to approve the resolution opposing House Bill 176. Do we have a second? Second by Mr. DiPolito. Does anyone in the audience have any questions or comments? All in favor of the motion, raise their hands. Yes, sir. Come forward, please.
Mayor Wood and members of council, good evening. City Administrator K-Love. My name is Dennis Boyden. I'm the Regional Director for External Affairs for AT&T. I am here tonight on behalf of AT&T, although this is an industry bill. But I am not here to represent the total industry, just AT&T. But the industry is in agreement with this bill. From the onset of this bill, there is a lot of information that, quite frankly, is not correct. The city of Roswell, Johns Creek, Alpharetta, none of the cities throughout the state lose the authority over zoning, lose the authority over in reference to going into communities. It all starts with the same process that we've been doing. Does the 90-day, 150-day rule apply? Yes, it does. But here's one thing that doesn't get discussed. If no agreement can be reached in the 90-day or 150-day time frame, you simply deny the application. That's it. We can't force the city to do anything. What we are trying to do is streamline the process. That is correct, Mr. Davidson. We are looking for market rates as you would do any other industry that does business in the city of Roswell. But please know, we work very closely with municipalities throughout the state. But what we're trying to do with this bill is to try to find consistency throughout the state. When it comes to the North Fulton region, believe me, we work very closely with you all. I can tell you right now, we're about to start the process in the city of Milton. We have already taken over a year in just preparing, but there's no guarantee that anything is going to pass. There has also been comments to suggest that we can put towers in residential neighborhoods or wherever we want if we want that site. That is not the case. You are protected as a city to still legislate. It's to streamline the process, market rates, and to allow for us to provide the services that your city and your constituents ask for, regardless of who they use. Finally is this. We do not build cell towers just to build cell towers. There's no need to. And furthermore, we're never going to get that type of approval, nor will we seek it. We build cell towers to meet the capacity of the growth that's taking place in the region. And certainly, North Fulton is one of those areas where the growth is taking place. Lastly, I have documents in here for each one of you seated tonight in which it tells you from our perspective as an industry what actually is in the bill. And I would simply say, with as busy as your schedules are, if you have not had a chance to read the bill, please do so, because there is no intent nor no desire for this to be a preemption of city's authority to regulate ordinances. We had a representative from the city of Valdosta suggest with the flight paths for the military bases, well, we only allow towers to be so tall. He was asked directly by one of the panel members for the General Assembly. We were asked, does that change? Absolutely not. If the ordinance doesn't allow for it, we can't do anything unless the ordinance. We still must go where we have the opportunity to. To Mayor Wood and council members and Ms. Love, I thank you for the opportunity to speak out. We have a long relationship with the city of Roswell, and certainly, as anything else, this legislation is like anything else. It'll just continue to go forth in reference to us trying to make it happen and GMA trying not to make it happen. But what it's important for you all to know, and particularly your citizens, you do not lose your authority where any wireless company can come in and dictate to the city of Roswell or any city in North Fulton or any city in the state our terms and conditions. That is not the case. Mayor Wood, thank you for your time, sir.
Mr. Boynton, thank you for your time, and the city has just signed up with AT&T for self-service.
And we thank you, sir.
We thank you for your self-service.
Yes, sir. I will leave this here.
Thank you.
Everyone a
You'll
copy.
give that
Thank
to...
you all so much, sir.
Thank you, sir. Thank you for enlightening us on AT&T's position. Does anyone else wish to speak? Any further discussion? Councilmember DiPolito.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. I appreciate AT&T's position, and I disagree with some of the comments that were made. I have read the bill cover to cover, and I do believe that the bill does limit our zoning latitude. It doesn't eliminate it altogether, but it does provide certain allowances that the cell phone companies can make changes to the towers as much as 10 and 20% in some cases. I don't have the exact figures in front of me, but material changes to the towers, both in height and width. So I think those are significant, and those types of changes need to come back before the governing body. I have a fundamental issue with the bill itself, even regardless of the cell tower issue, but it has to do with the fact that zoning really belongs within the local jurisdiction. So anytime there's the state trying to get into restricting or making requirements with respect to zoning, I fundamentally disagree with that. I believe each city, each municipality is different, and we all have different requirements, and we know our city, and we know what's appropriate in one area and what's not appropriate in a different area. So one size does not fit all. Mr. Boyd had mentioned that one of the things they're trying to do is get consistency throughout the state. I can understand that from a regulatory standpoint, but from a zoning standpoint, you just can't have consistency because every area is different. So I completely support this resolution and support opposition to the bill. And for the record, I am an AT&T customer, so I use the cell phone service all the time. It used to be. Thank you.
Any other comments before we entertain a vote? Councilman Orleans.
Yeah, I also agree. Councilman DiPolito, I have a problem when the states start sticking their little nose into local legislation and zoning issues, and also talking about market rates. That can really vary and to be determined in the definition of it, because I think, and it only comes into play if it's on city property, but I think the market rates that we feel is justified in the city of Roswell may not be the same as what market rate would be in another area. But again, I just think the state should stay out of some things that are local issues. So I also not in favor of the bill.
Does anyone else wish to comment before I take a vote? All in favor of the motion, raise their hands. Passes unanimously. This time I'll call upon Liaison Councilmember Ken Eichelhart to the Environmental Public Works Department.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. The next item is approval of the water plant raw water storage tank location. And as many know, this is the culmination of a long process, and want to thank those who have taken part in that process. I know it's taken a lot of individual time from residents and obviously their staff as well, and thank everyone who's worked so hard on it. And tonight, Mr. Moore will go through some of this, but we have some new information from even our last time based on some meetings and additional work. I want to thank Jacobs and, again, some of our staff folks who have worked hard on that in the last week, and I'll let Mr. Moore proceed, and I'll come back and tell you some more.
Yes, sir. Thank you very much. In December of 2011, the city received a withdrawal permit from Georgia EPD for construction of a larger water intake and water treatment plant with an average daily capacity of 3 million gallons per day with associated intake and raw water storage. We have been through a number of studies and alternatives, a number of public hearings and comments. I'm not going to recount all of those, but that information is available if there are questions. But essentially, we had a public meeting on January the 28th and received additional public input so that the designers could hear that specifically and work to incorporate that into their planning efforts. Subsequently, at the committee meeting on February the 12th, basically you were presented with two remaining options for the water storage tank, and they have come to be known as option 1 and option 2. Just by way of orientation, this is the current water plant right here. This is the recreation office building and shop yard, this being Dobbs Drive. And option 1 would place the tank largely centered in what's known as the shop yard or the operations yard of Recreation and Parks. Same general layout. Option 2 would present the tank in the maintenance yard and surrounding area immediately adjacent to a baseball field and soccer fields. At those meetings and in previous public meetings, considerable public input has been received, largely supporting, almost overwhelmingly supporting selection of option 1 as the location. And the challenge has been to determine how to relocate the displaced operations from the Recreation and Parks operations yard. The staff of Jacobs have been working very diligently over the past week and a half to develop an alternative to evaluate the actual space needs that would be displaced, and primarily have come up with what appears to be a layout that satisfies a number of these objectives. Now, the orientation of this plan is different, this being Dobbs Drive here, the Recreation and Parks building here, the water plant is off the chart over here, and it's a modification of what was previously shown as option 1. The tank is this area here. What's shown in red is the area of the Recreation and Parks yard that would be taken up with that tank location. From the previous setup, which was more conceptual in nature, where it was more or less centered in the yard, this plan would move the tank eastward to pretty much the boundary of the property there, actually beyond where the fence is currently, about 30 feet to the east and about 35 feet to the south, where it would also pick up a corner of the Water Resources activity yard. The area shown in red would be the lost amount of space in the recreation yard, and that has been calculated to be 21,900 square feet. The areas that are shown in blue here, 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 and here are the areas that could be gained. We met on site early last week and determined that this area of parking adjacent to the Rec and Parks building would be available. An additional area could be gained right here alongside the current storage, and an area skirting the maintenance yard is also available with the construction of a retaining wall along the lower side there. Adding all of those pieces together totals 18,900 square feet. It's still a loss of about 3,000 square feet, but through extensive discussions with Recreation and Park staff, it has been determined that they believe that will be suitable for their needs. One important factor is the addition of a gate at this end of the property so that the big trucks can make a straight-through pass. They don't have to have room to turn around in the yard there. There's a major impediment there. There's a major storm sewer facility that will have to be reconstructed and built around in order to put that gate there. So it's not just a question of opening up the gate and paving it, but it's a manageable process. This is the cost comparison sheet that you saw at the committee meeting on February the 12th, and it has been adjusted with handwritten notes. The estimated cost, and there are spreadsheets supporting it if you have questions about the details, but the estimated cost of these modifications for relocation for Recreation and Parks now total $419,400 as opposed to the $599 or approximately $600,000 that was previous. So that adjusts the range for the cost of option 1 to between $666,000 to $790,000. The range for the option 2, as you see, was $532,000 to $620,000. Taking the midpoints of those two ranges and calculating the difference between those two, that difference is now about $152,000 as compared to the previous differential of $330,000. Staff has reviewed that, although this has been this information came to us late on Friday afternoon, but we have reviewed it, discussed it with Councilman Eichelhart and Councilman Orleans and the Recreation Commission Chair. Although it's not optimum for anybody, we believe it's an acceptable solution that satisfies a number of concerns, and that is what we believe is the best approach for option 1, although it is that much cost differential relative to option 2. And so we request your consideration and a decision so that the design process can move forward.
Now, as I understand it, the decision on 1 or 2 was in large part driven by the perspective of what these tanks would look like from outside the park and from the approach to the park. And you all had some perspectives of what that might look like. Do you still have those perspectives tonight?
Yes, sir.
Just to sort of get people focused back on what I'm hearing is the issue. I'd like us to put those renderings on the screen so we can see what the difference in the appearance of these tanks might look like in the two different locations, with a slight difference, as I understand now. But I think it's important for us to go back and take a look at what we're really talking about here is how these tanks would appear from different points of view, reference in the park.
Yes, sir. Mr. Mayor, because the staff recommended option was option 2, that was the work that was developed in terms of the tank treatment.
Well, I think we've got
concept.
perspectives on 1 and 2, but not maybe on this 1.5. Do you have those perspectives on 1 and 2?
No, sir, we don't. That was not available to be done in the time frame that we had.
I'm not asking for 1.5. I have seen 1 and 2 before.
Right.
We could see the 1 and 2 perspectives.
Mr. Mayor, these are black and white. Yeah, look through there and see if you see it. Yeah. It's challenging in the light to see this, but in this case there was a baseball mural on the lower portion of the tank. The upper portion of the tank...
Are we looking at tank 2 right now?
Yes, sir, that's option 2.
From what point of reference are we looking at tank 2?
That is from the softball field looking to the south.
Could you take a pencil and draw the outline? I think you can probably see it on the screen. We can't see it on the screen, but you could probably show the height and what the outline of that tank would look like.
That would be the outline of the tank. The idea would be to color the upper portion of the tank a sky color so that it would tend to blend into the natural environment.
In our last meeting, we had also a perspective of what tank 1 would look like. Do you have that? From the same point of reference?
That's from the same point of reference, Mr. Mayor. This shows
tank 2?
The tank 2 location here, the option 1 location here behind those trees.
That's a little clearer. And that's from the ball field?
That's from the ball field, yes, sir.
Do we have the point of reference of these 2 tanks from the neighborhood, the closest neighborhood? I'm seeing
again with the
lines.
lighting, this is very challenging to see, but this is the current view looking through one property's backyard.
No tanks.
Sir?
The upper view is with no tanks.
That's right, as it is today.
And the lower view
shows here
where the tanks would be.
Tank location 2, and here is tank location 1.
So if you could
the white
see through
dotted
the trees,
lines.
you could see them.
I'm sorry?
If you could see through the trees, that's where they would be.
Yes, sir.
All right.
This is from the entrance to the Adult Recreation Center off Grimes Bridge. This is actually tank 4, which is approximately the location of tank 2, or option number 2. This would be option number 1 over here. Again, the dash line.
That's very unclear on the thing. Could you put that in pen? You're drawing in 2 now.
Yes.
And if you'll draw in 1.
Does that...
That helps.
Yeah, it's on this screen it's challenging to be able to see that.
That's helpful because I think we're talking about how these would appear from these points of reference, and I just wanted to get that on the record.
Yes, sir.
Mr. Moore, can you also show the picture from the soccer field? Do you have that?
This would be the perspective from the soccer field, and on that side would include a mural
That's
of
on
a
tank
soccer
2.
game at location 2.
Can you tell me where where tank 1 would be from the soccer field?
From that location, it would be way over here, pretty effectively screened by the existing evergreen trees that are there. We haven't tried to take that particular perspective, but the soccer field sits down low. There's a raised place there, and the option 1 location, that has not been a concern that's been expressed, so we didn't ask them to address that.
Thank you. Other questions the council may have? Councilmember DiPolito.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. Mr. Mooring, question for you on some of the numbers. We had been given some hard copies of some spreadsheets that didn't have a range. They had some absolute estimates. And you're familiar with these from Jacobs?
Yes.
The difference between those two estimates was $110,000. Is that probably a more accurate number since that's a more recent figure?
The costs that were in those spreadsheets were all for the revised option 1.
There was yard 1 and yard 2.
Yes, sir. There was one spreadsheet that covered the costs of the relocation within this yard, that is to say the new construction that's shown in blue here, and the gate, and another spreadsheet that was the construction shown in blue relative to the maintenance yard.
Okay, got it. Thank you.
Other questions for Mr. Mooring? Councilmember Price.
Thank you. In comparing the two options, I know that the costs for option 2 were augmented by a perceived need to have a mural on the tank to blend it into the surroundings, or at least make it palatable to look at. I guess we call it public art, public water tank art.
Yes, ma'am.
And I guess I wonder why we put it only on option 2 and not on option 1, or just to have it a totally optional cost regardless of the other considerations.
The concerns that we saw expressed had largely to do with the appearance of the tank under option 2, and that would so that was determined that would be one aspect of mitigation of that concern. Certainly, there may be interest by you or by others for a mural wherever the tank might be located. We've had quite a limited time, so we haven't developed the perspectives that the mayor was asking about. The plan is for this tank to be moved over immediately adjacent, and we will lose some of the pine tree cover. So the plan includes addition of pine trees alongside Dobbs Court and some additional pine trees here, evergreen trees, that would affect some screening. So it's not clear that that would be required. There was some concern expressed that we were trying to express additional costs related to option 1, so we left that cost off of that. But you're right that cost could be on either one of these options, in which case then the cost differential would increase by that $85,000.
Okay, so really, if you add 85,000 to 152, is really the true cost between the two locations, irrespective of any mural.
Right, that would be about $237,000.
Other questions? Councilman Eichelhart, do you have a question?
Just a clarification that I do think it's screened to a greater extent at option 1. It would not require that same level of painting if we decided to do that. So I don't know that 85 would cross back and forth between them. I don't know what that dollar figure is. I don't think any of us would know. But I don't think it's just added on to be the total.
Other questions? Thank you, Mr. Mooring.
Yes, sir. Thank you.
This time, I know we have a lot of people in the audience, and I think it would be helpful to hear from them before we hear a motion. So at this time, we'll open it up for comments from the floor. So if you have comments tonight, either on site 1, 2, or maybe a different site or no site at all, it's just your opportunity to comment. This council's getting ready to entertain a motion, take a vote. So if you have something to say, now's the time to say it. If you'd like to come forward, raise your hand. Come forward. And if you'll give us your name and address, and we have a 5-minute time limit, the light will come on when the yellow light comes on when there's 1 minute left. 2 minutes left.
I can't talk that long. I get bored with myself. I'm Chris Watford, and I live at 205 Shadowbrook Drive. And I've kind of been following this process along with Seth and everyone in our subdivision for, as long as it's been going on. First thing I want to say is that as a City of Roswell resident, I'm very appreciative of the fact of the way this mayor and council have handled our city finances. I don't always agree with what you do, but from a fiscal standpoint, we have a great credit rating, we have a great bond rating. I do think that you guys make smart fiscal decisions, and I appreciate that. We're in a really good position financially, in large part because of decisions that you guys have made. I think this is one of those situations where the fiscal, if you just looked at the numbers of this project, you'd say, oh, our fiduciary responsibility is to save money for the City of Roswell. That's what you're entrusted to do, and I understand that. But I think there's some other moving parts to this, and I guess when you start thinking about a city project or a municipal project, county project, state project, whatever it might be, that sort of has a very direct impact on neighbors, people on Meadowwood, people that use the park. Then I think you sort of put yourself in a position of saying, okay, well, maybe we do need to spend more money to mitigate that. And if you look at that amount of money that might be different, placing the tank, maybe in a more expensive location, I think probably if you take that additional expense and amortize it out over the length of this thing, because it's going to be here long after we're gone, I think it's kind of a drop in the bucket. And I think that this project has potential to have a direct impact on people's home values, property values, at a time when, none of us really need another hit to that sort of thing. And our Parks Department in Roswell has long been just, it's a flagship Parks Department. Parks and Rec has been that way for a long time, and it's known throughout the state and parts of the country. And I think that this park is just another piece of that. And so I just feel like, cost differences aside, this might be a time where it might be prudent to spend a little bit extra money and put this tank in a place that's not so visible. That's it. Thanks.
Thank you, sir. Come forward, please.
I'm Janet Russell. I live at 260 Willow Springs Drive. I'm not affected by this because my neighborhood does not abut it. However, I am affected by this because I will be paying the bill, as none of you except Mr. Eigelhart and, as the mayor has mentioned, will. For 1 year, I've been coming here opposed to the city continuing in the water business, and I want to go on the record today as saying I'm still opposed. This wouldn't even be an issue if you people had not voted to continue to provide water to 20% of the population. You approved a $16.2 million water revenue bond a few months ago. Now we're finding out it's going to run probably when you get through another $1 million. Since none of you, including the city administrator and the city attorney, get their water from Roswell except Mr. Eigelhart and the mayor, I don't think any of you have a dog in this fight, as they say. Maybe you'd like to all assume the bills that we get, even though you get yours from Fulton County and they just introduced a water reduction price. I am opposed to it. You do not need to be in the water business anymore. 361,000 people in North Fulton County get their water from Fulton County. 12,000 get it from the city of Roswell. Time to get out of the water business. The second thing is, I was at the work session when Mr. Glover talked about if you put this water treatment plant, this facility there, they're going to have to relocate all the parks trucks, the maintenance trucks that maintain the river parks and all that, and they will be relocated to Hembry Park. That means that all those vehicles will have to be transferring through the city from Hembry Park to the river every day. We don't have enough problems with traffic in this town. What's that going to cost? And I know it can't be built into the Recreation and Parks Operations yard budget. We were told you'd have to increase in an automatic hookup fee to Fulton County would be $38,000 for the sewer at Hembry Park for that increase of usage. And I don't think you people have thought out the whole project at all. I think you're really nice people individually, but I think you're totally clueless on this project. I'm not quite sure. What we just heard is all smoke and mirrors. I was listening for a band as Mr. Mooring danced around the issues because I heard no music. So I just want you to know I am still opposed to this. I think you're making a very bad decision. I have heard 5 lame excuses of why we need to stay in the water business, and none of them hold water.
Mr. Mayor, can I clarify one thing?
Yes, Councilman Eigelhart.
Just to make clear that what Mr. Mooring was showing as the changes that we're making to this property at Waller Park, we do not need to shift operations to Hembry. That's the point here, is that the additions are made to Waller Park and they're right where they will be and continue to be. So that's a key difference. And otherwise, I'd probably agree with you on those elements of how it impacts the city, but this keeps it all right here. That's the point.
Would anyone else like to speak? Yes, come forward, please.
Good evening, Mayor and Council. I'm Tom Erdmanchek, 245 Stonebridge Trail. Have lived there for 25 years. Our street is the next one after Meadowood, next to the park. I've followed this process with interest. My kids have grown up playing in this park. It's our neighborhood park. I'm, of course, in favor of option 1. I do get my water from the city of Roswell. I enjoy it every day. It's very good water. I thank you for it. I think what the plans can't take into account is the effect that option 2 would have on the park. putting a tank where we've got to see it when we take our kids to the park, because we have to take them there for sports, then discourages us from going there to use the playground, because there are prettier playgrounds. It discourages us from walking our dogs there, because there are pretty places to walk our dogs. The park, in effect, becomes devalued. That devaluation of the park is more than worth, to me, $152,000. That is the difference calculated between the two options. I hope you will consider the effect on the park, the usage of the park, the type of people that you would like to use the park. I'd like my neighbors to be comfortable using the park and to think it was a pretty place. Thank you very much.
Anyone else wish to speak? Yes, sir, come forward.
Good evening. My name is Seth Friedman. I live at 285 Meadowwood Drive. I'll be very brief. Mr. Mayor, members of council, I just want to thank you again for opening up this process, allowing our community to be heard on this issue. I want to thank Mr. Watford for his comments. I think he made some very elegant and clearly stated points, and I won't go through the process of rehashing those here in the interest of saving everyone's time. I would just like to reiterate one very clear point. We've just had a very brief conversation about the visibility of the tank. I've stated numerous times through the process, and I want to make sure it's clear again that this is not just a matter of visibility, it's a matter of presence. The presence of the tank, where it will be located, because we can show various displays of the visibility from one location or from another, but when you're physically in a car or walking around in a park, you see a multitude of viewpoints, and it's a matter of the feeling of that object and where it is, not just how it looks from any given angle. So I thank you again for your time, and I do hope and would like to remind you, in case you had forgotten, that our community is very much in favor of option 1, and we do hope that you vote in favor of that tonight.
Just for clarification.
Yes, sir.
We have option 1, option 2, and option 1.5. Does the community have any opinion on option 1.5?
I do thank you for that question and seeking of clarification. Option 1.5 is what I would be referring to. I think that the staff, and you give me the opportunity to give out some necessary praise, I think that the staff and the consultants have done some very good work on a very short time schedule, trying to make option 1 work in a manner that satisfies all of the numerous constraints and considerations that have to be taken into account with this very large project with a lot of different factors involved. I think that option 1.5 is the result of some very good critical thinking, and I thank them for that.
Thank you, sir. Does anyone else wish to speak? Yes, come forward, please.
Lee Fleck, Martin's Landing. I would first like to request the courtesy of being allowed to finish my presentation, because it will have a direct bearing on the tanks. However, I'm coming from a different direction. Many of you may remember this presentation. This was the foundation on which this entire project was approved. This was based on your consultant's analysis of the fiscal capacity and the fact that you were going to have a coverage ratio that was acceptable by your existing protocols. Now, when this was originally presented, I took it and I blew it out over 20 years, and I was pretty comfortable. Yeah, okay, they had a legitimate favorable variance over the 20-year terms of this project. However, within a couple of weeks after this presentation was made, Ms. Love wrote me and said that these consultants had grossly misstated the interest rate, and as a matter of fact, the interest rate for this loan was almost twice that. so that the principal and the interest for this loan, we're going to go from $900,000 to almost $1.1 million annually in principal and debt service. And that would actually bring the coverage ratio down to your minimum of 150%. I hope Ms. Love remembers those email exchanges we had. Now, what was very interesting about this presentation, and the point I'm going to make, is this is not only in the same fiscal year, what I'm about to show you is in exactly same fiscal quarter. Now, if we look at 2012, which you just completed your fiscal year, analysis, you'll see that revenues, $3.5 million, and expenses of $2.8 million, which gives you a favorable variance of almost $650,000 annually. Lo and behold, your financial report came out last week, and while your expenses, your revenues are 3.5, your expenses, holy cow, are significantly more than that. Not 2.9, but actually 3.4. So the $700,000 in operational income that you had anticipated is now only $144,000. So the very first year of this project, you're already $500,000 behind. Now, when you're talking about option 1 versus option 2 versus option 3, you're now adding an additional $500,000, which means that you are actually not going to be able to maintain your coverage ratio, which was the premise that you had all voted for this water plant. My contention that you could very well have citizens who are not located near Water Park, but might consider themselves injured parties from the fact that your numbers don't live up to your own requirements. And in such a case, they can actually find an injunction and stop this entire project. So I think before you decide to take on another $500,000 of expenses, you better go back and redo all your numbers for your entire project. Thank you.
Does anyone else wish to speak? Yes, come forward, please.
Good evening, Mayor, City Council, and City Administrator. My name is Michael Vickery. I live at 335 Meadowwood Drive. I've been a water customer of the City of Roswell for 54 years. And I've been part of this procedure as far as meetings and things going on for probably, I guess, about a year now since this started. I've seen this tank move to probably 5 different locations. One directly affected me right behind my house because I think I've got the best view of any of the tanks besides my neighbor that lives just on the other side of me. And as far as me and my house, my wife has also been part of this. We're in favor and hope that you would vote for the tank location of 1.5. And I appreciate your time and thank you very much.
Thank you, sir. Does anyone else wish to speak? Seeing no hands up, public hearing is closed. This time we'll enter any comments before we take a motion. Any council member wish to comment before we entertain a motion? Yes, sir.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. We've had a lot of discussion about the visibility of the tank, and Mr. Friedman mentioned the importance of the presence of the tank, which I think is a great description because it's more than just seeing it from a distance. It's how it feels within the context of the park, which to me has always been critically important. And along those lines, what's also critically important is this tank is going to be there for 60 years, Mr. Moran, probably?
Yes, sir. I wouldn't be surprised.
As long as we need water.
Our existing water facility has been there for 60 years, so I imagine our tank will be there for 60 years. And I think it's critically important to make sure we locate it properly. And by placing the tank among the ball fields, that eliminates any flexibility we may want to have in the future, at least within the next 60 years, from the usability of the park. So I think not just the visibility, but the location's important because it really minimizes the flexibility. So the option 1.5 pulls it back within the other facilities, the existing structures which are unlikely to move, really contains all those permanent structures in a confined area. So from a usability standpoint, I think that makes a very big difference. So the other important factor is the cost. And $152,000 is a lot of money. There's no doubt about that. If you look at the overall project is over $16 million. That difference in cost is less than 1% of the overall cost. And in construction projects, you usually have a variance of, or a contingency of up to 5%. So, we could, this number could move a little bit. It could be a little more, it could be a little less. I'm confident that with our engineers on staff and our good consultants that will come in well below budget, so I don't think that will even be an issue. But the overall point is, this is a very small amount in the overall budget. I think the impacts of preserving parkland, preserving usability of the park itself, I think it's worth the extra money, so I support option 1.5.
Excuse me, if I might just say,
yes, go ahead.
From the design standpoint, we just view this as an adjustment to option 1. It's not because
for the clarity, I
conditions
wanted to use 1.5 because it was because I had 3 options on the table.
The reason I want to make the point is that other conditions may dictate that it shift 10 feet one way or another. It's not going to shift to option 2 location, but we don't view it as a separate concept.
Anywhere between option 1 and option 1.5 is okay with me.
Yes, sir.
Councilmember Wynn.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. I have to ditto what my colleague said. I want to thank staff and the consultants and Council members Orleans and Eichelhart for their hard work about trying to find an option that would work for everyone. I know it's not optimal for everybody, but I think it's a good compromise, and I thank you all for that work that you did, the flexibility that you had, and the open-mindedness to find a solution to the problem. But I also want to thank the community, Seth, Mr. Vickery, and Mr. Walford, and the people that I know by name. I started as a community advocate, and it's amazing when you can get that dialogue going with your city officials or county officials, what can happen. So I really want to thank you all for your patience and your compromise also for this. And also after we finally got something that you could support. I appreciate you coming and supporting it because it's easy to complain, but it's also easy to compliment. So I do appreciate y'all coming out and supporting this, and I am too in favor of between option 1 and 1.5. But again, thank you all so much for all your hard work.
Any further comments? Councilmember Diamond.
Seems like in the last few months we've had a number of occasions to talk about short-term savings versus long-term best interest. And Roswell's goal, while I don't know, and I said this before, I don't know anybody who moved here because it was the cheapest place to live, but we will look for value to every dollar we spend. And the protection of our parks is a huge priority, always has been. I think this has pointed out a need on a secondary level to address what Rec Commission, I think, would love for us to talk about more, is the maintenance of our existing parks. And I think Waller Park's right up there at the top of the list since they're one of the older ones, and I think there's room for master planning and upgrading all that. But I agree that, the headlines for us likely look like we've spent more here, but the reality is, long term, I don't think that there's any question that this is in the best interest of the parks, the neighborhood, and our value. So I'm for 1 to 1.5 as well.
Anyone else wish to comment before we entertain a motion? Councilmember Price.
Thank you. I know we've been talking about this for a long time, and I think the fact that we're in the water business is undisputed. That's not part of our discussion tonight. We've already determined that we're we're going to do a new water facility and also this tank, reservoir tank. Now, in my calculations, taking just the base tank at $2.8 million, the additional costs of option 1 over option 2, not counting any mural, is really about in the nature of $250,000. It's really more than the $152. So that's about an increase of 10% in the cost. I think intuitively when we look at option 1, it just feels better. I mean, option 2, it just doesn't quite. It's like putting a round peg in a square hole. So really the question left for us is it worth 10% more on the price of the tank to put it in a more preferable location? I think that's what it boils down to. So I certainly haven't heard any objection based on that cost alone, in addition, to put it in the option, the preferable option, I think aesthetically and for other reasons. And I'm delighted that we've been able to figure out a way to keep all the maintenance vehicles on site and not have to go to another location, which was going to be a lot more expensive. So I think I'll support this, but keeping in mind that it is a 10% increase in cost.
Councilman Orleans.
I just want to thank the citizens for their involvement and how they got involved, and again, not just being critical, but trying to help work for solutions. And I want to thank the staff and our consultants from a meeting we had last Wednesday morning. They have done a lot in 2 to 3 days to get us back what we wanted and what we asked for. And the key was trying to keep things in that location for Parks Department. The option of moving to Hembry was just not an option in my mind. So I think we've come to a good solution, and they're going to work with the loss of about 3,000 square feet. And our commission being involved, our commission chairman being involved. And it does come down to, I think, trying to work the best value for all of us, for our citizens, for our parks, and for our staff, and the needs that they have in operation. So I think this is a good option to go with. Thank you.
I think I've heard from everybody other than Councilman Eichelhart, who will make a motion, hopefully. Councilman Eichelhart, do you have a motion?
Yes, sir, and I've got to remember to use my prerogative as being the one to introduce to say my stuff first, because everybody said everything I was going to say, so I won't bore everybody with that, other than 2 things. That I really do want to thank the community who got so involved with this, and we've actually decided this, 3 or 4 times now, and been discussing for quite a long time, but you've been so involved, and you know, a number of you obviously sitting here, others who couldn't be here tonight, but I do want to point out specifically Seth Friedman, because he's known more about stuff than any of us up here have known on this, and it's really impressive to have somebody to spend that much time, and so I thank all of you. I hope, and I know you already have, thanked him. But in addition to that, we've got the staff who've done a lot of give and take on a lot of things. Frankly, there are things in here that they don't really want to do, but they have figured out how to make it work. And I'm going to name specifically Elias McGay's from Jacobs. I've just been so impressed with the work that they've done, and they're the folks who are going to build, design and build this whole thing. And they have really taken what we've said and try and figured out how to make things work, and I think that bodes well for the entire length of this process and what it's going to be at the end. And again, the ultimate thing here is looking at the value of this. And everybody's already said all that, but my goal all along is to look at this park and the surrounding area as the gem that it can be for the Groveway area. We've spent the last year plus working on what that whole area can be. This is kind of the anchor of that, and you also can include along Oxbow and in any public property we own. And there's so much that we can make out of this. And you know, having a tank, as was said before, in a place of great presence, I think could take away from that. And this will allow us to have an option as we go forward to do a lot of things. And the next item on here is about this master plan. And we're not going to talk about. I'm going to defer that in a minute, because the meeting we had to talk about the master plan is how we actually came up with what came forward tonight. And so we didn't get to the master plan. So we're going to do that in a couple of weeks. But that is my ultimate goal, that we work towards that. I look forward to having the involvement of the community and staff and others as we work on that in the future. And just to make clear, I am going to say option 1. Whatever you guys want to call it, that's what it is. But as Mr. Moran says, basically it's that location. May shift around a little bit, but that's where I'm going. So my motion would be that we select option 1 for the water plant tank.
Councilman Eichelhart, for the record, Mr. Mooring, would you show what you think option 1 is, and so we can get a confirmation from Mr. Eichelhart as what option 1 is? Councilman Eichelhart, is that what you are deeming as option 1?
That is,
in that approximate location?
Yes, sir.
We have a motion by Councilman Eichelhart.
Just to clarify, it may shift a little bit from there, but...
Correct, but for the record, it's on the drawing, designated space comparison, Jacobs, February 22nd, 2013, just on the record.
Motion by Councilman Eichelhart. Is there a second?
Second.
Second by Councilman Orleans. All in favor of the motion, raise their hands. Passes unanimously. If you'll call the next agenda item.
And as I just mentioned, the next item is approval of a budget amendment to pay Jacobs to do additional planning for master plan. We're going to defer that until March the 11th, which is our next regular council meeting, because we haven't had a chance to nail all that down and get the finals, but we will in whatever that is.
We have a motion to defer item 4. Is there a second?
Second.
All in favor, raise their hands. Passes unanimously. You have an item 5.
Final item for my department is approval to sign a change order for Wade Coots Company for the Worthington Drive Capital Improvement Project, the amount of $33,784.37. Mr. Moore.
Yes, sir. Thank you. This was construction of a very necessary stormwater pipe. Because of the nature of the work, there was only one point of access, so the timing of the work was critical. Once they started, they realized that the location of the water line, Fulton County water line, was different than what we had shown, and so there was a need for a change order. The guidance at the time was to defer all the change orders till the end of the project, but by the time we completed the project, we had switched to a new accounting system with Munis, and so once we reached full payments, it automatically closed out the project. So we need Mayor and Council approval to approve that change order. The change order amount is $33,784.37, but we are still approximately $40,000 under budget on the project.
Does the council have any questions? Do we have a motion?
Move to approve.
Motion by Councilman Eichelhart to approve the change order. Is there a second? Second by Councilman Orleans. Does anyone in the audience have any questions, comments? Any further discussion by council? All in favor of the motion, raise their hands. Passes unanimously. At this time, we'll call upon Councilmember Rich DePolito, liaison to the Administration and Finance Department.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. This item is approval of the city's debt management policy. It will be presented by Mr. Keith Lee.
Thank you, Councilmember DiPolito. Mayor and Council, tonight I'm presenting the debt management policy. This is one of the 5 key elements that rating agencies examine when they evaluate the creditworthiness of cities and counties around this country. The other 4 include administrative, financial, economic, and legal restrictions. If you'll indulge me a minute, I'm going to read a statement from Moody's regarding the strengths of this city and their official findings for our AAA rating. It says, 3 of the strengths of this city include sizable tax base with above average socioeconomic factors, historically ample reserves bolstered by formal fiscal policies, including fund balance targets and 5-year forecast, and manageable debt burden. Essentially, what I'm doing tonight is codifying what you guys have been doing for a number of years. You haven't allowed debt to get out of control in this city. The intent of this policy is to commit to full and complete financial disclosure, to establish a funding plan for the capital improvement plan. We approve a capital improvement plan annually, To establish debt levels, the state establishes a debt level at 10% of the assessed value of the digest. That's $440 million. We've never approached that. This policy establishes two benchmarks: 15% of the general expenses, as well as $2,000 per capita in debt service or in total debt. A repayment of 60% of the debt within 10 years. Our current $10 million 2013 series has an average principal payback of 5.5 years, so it is consistent with our own practices. It describes the professional services of financial advisors, bond counsels, underwriters. It also talks about the various types of transactions we will undertake, how we will negotiate or competitively bid those transactions, and it describes the uses of leases, lines and letters of credits, as well as anticipation notes. With that, I'll answer any questions you might have. Yes, sir.
Is it fair to say that this will be viewed, if we do pass this proposal, it will be viewed favorable by bonding rating agencies now and in the future?
Yes, sir, it will.
I have no other questions. Council, any questions? Councilmember Price.
I'm assuming this is sort of a generic template. Where exactly did it come from?
There's a model that comes from the Association of Government Public Treasurers of the United States and Canada, as well as the Government Finance Officers Association. They're just some guidelines of financial policies that both of those organizations have.
And did we change anything that might be specific to Roswell?
But something that might be specific to Roswell would be the debt limits, if you will. The 15% and the 2,000, both of those are considered moderate debt limits by Standard & Poor's.
I'm sorry, what page is that?
The benchmarks are on page 6.
And that was a different figure than is sometimes used?
It's just specific to what is the desire of the organization's passing a debt or a debt management policy.
And there's nothing in here that's different than what we're actually doing?
It formalizes a capital improvement plan such that we identify the funding plan that is associated with that capital improvement plan. It talks about pay-as-you-go, which is our current method of capital planning. It has lease options in here which would not exceed the life of the asset, which is what our current practice is. It talks about bond anticipation notes. We have not issued those at this city, and tax anticipation notes, we have not issued those at this city. But they are options that this city could take in the future.
But just the same, anything that we did based on this policy would come to council first?
Yes, ma'am. If we're issuing debt, it's coming to this council first.
Thank you.
I think a fair statement would be is if we were violating this policy, we would need to first revoke this policy. But if we're in compliance with this policy, it still would take a vote to take any action, but we wouldn't have to overcome this policy to take action. Other questions or comments? Councilmember DiPolito.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. Mr. Lee, I guess it's fair to say this is really a list of best practices that we have been following. We are just putting them in writing and formalizing them, so we have a written document to show the underwriters.
Yes, sir. The underwriters, the rating agencies that show that we act the way that we say we act.
Thank you.
Any other comments before we entertain a motion? Do we have a motion to approve?
Move to approve.
Motion to approve by Councilmember DiPolito. Is there a second? Second by Councilmember Diamond. Does anyone in the audience have any questions or comments? Any further discussion by council? All in favor of the motion, raise their hands. Passes unanimously. This time we'll call upon Councilmember Jerry Orleans, liaison to the Recreation. Oh, I apologize. Mr. DiPolito, item 7.
Thank you. This is approval to convert 10 vehicles to propane auto gas and approval of a budget amendment in the amount of $59,000. This item will be presented by Mr. Fisher.
Thank you, Councilmember DiPolito. I think this is a pretty exciting opportunity for the city. We've been looking at taking advantage of some alternate fuels for our vehicles, and propane auto gas is one that Councilmember Eaglehart actually brought up years ago, right after I came here, and we've been kind of looking at it and kicking it around. We've had some good partners to help with this. Alliance Auto Gas has been a major help in putting these numbers together and helping us with some of our estimates and trying to figure out the best path to take. So what we have before you tonight is an opportunity to do 10 F-150 vehicles just to kind of get our feet wet and get into the door with doing this technology. I think it's something that we would be most interested in rolling it into replacement vehicles in the future. These 10 vehicles that we're looking at tonight would have a combined savings over a 2-generation savings for the remainder of the life of these vehicles, plus taking the capital that we purchased to put in these vehicles, moving them into a second vehicle for a full 10-year lifespan of about $93,000 for the city. It's clean-burning fuel. It's more efficient fuel. It's much less per gallon than gasoline, and every day that gets to be more and more, as you all are aware of what gasoline is doing. So to do these conversions and to save the roughly $93,000 over the life of these vehicles and then the next generation to come is something we're looking forward to, and then possibly expanding it into other vehicles and also some equipment that we may have here in the city that are very good candidates for propane is something we look forward to. We do ask for the budget amendment of $59,000 to get us started. In the future, I think there's some savings that we could be using possibly to allocate for some funding in the future, but we would ask that you would approve these 10 vehicles to start with and $59,000 to have them converted.
Does the council have any questions? Councilmember Price.
We talked about this a lot in committee meeting, and I think we got most of our questions answered. However, thinking about it later, where are the locations to is it easy to purchase propane? Do we have a number of competitors for that?
We do. We have a lot of competitors. As I had mentioned, Alliance Auto Gas is one of the big players. Got to meet them at a conference that I was at where they were actually proposing and doing some education. So they have an outreach program. Of course, it'll go through the procurement process, but there is competition out there, and they're well aware of that. They work in this industry all the time, so they know that, but they're willing to educate and help out. So there will be a process that we go through, and there will be more than ample supply when the time comes.
And my other concern was converting cars that have already used about half their life with the city.
Correct.
And the wisdom of that as opposed to doing it in our new additions to the fleet.
We can do both. The nice thing about looking at what we did, we had vehicles that still have 5, 6, or 7 years remaining in their life, and if I can convert those 10 as a group, even with that conversion at the end of their life cycle, we've saved over $4,000, almost $5,000. So financially it makes sense to go ahead and put the money in and start it now. When I move that equipment over to the next 10 vehicles that come through, being a V8 moves over to a V8, the cost for that transfer is only about half the upfront cost, because we still get to use the majority of the equipment. The fuel lines themselves we won't change, but the valve, the computer, the tanks, those kind of things can change over. So the cost is about half as much when we go to the next generation, and of course the savings will be over the 10 years when we do that. Mm-hmm. So at about a 5-year process, we can still save money on the vehicles.
Thank you.
Other questions the council may have? Councilmember DiPolito.
Thank you, Mr. Fisher. From a purchasing standpoint, we are locking ourselves in 12 months at a time for gas pricing. Is that true?
Yes, we can, certainly, and we want to.
but we're not committing for 10 years to any particular vendor at a given price?
Oh, no, we're locking in a 12-month period.
Okay. All right. The other question I had for you, we hadn't discussed this yet. Since this is a sustainable initiative and that's a focus for us in the coming budget year and something that the admin department is focusing on, can we, once we get these up and going, can we tie these in with an educational program where we can maybe partner with the propane company? You mentioned they have educational opportunities, but make this available to the public, let them know what we're doing, show them how it works. There may be folks out there in the community who have an interest in learning about this. So
I'll speak for one of the people from Alliance Auto Gas is here today to observe, but in speaking for him, if he doesn't mind, I think they would love to have an opportunity to do some education. They are in the process of wanting to expand this. They see the value in it. So we would certainly be partnering with whoever our vendor is to educate our community, not only in this, but hopefully in some other alternatives as we move forward also.
That'd be great. Thank you.
Any other comments from council? Do we have a motion?
Move to approve.
Motion to approve by Councilmember DiPolito. Is there a second? Second by Councilmember Eichelhardt. Does anyone in the audience have any questions or comments? Any further discussion by council? All in favor of the motion, raise their hands. Passes unanimously.
Thank you.
And at this time, we'll call upon Jerry Williams, liaison to the Recreation and Parks Department.
Thank you. The world-renowned Recreation and Parks Department. Tonight on the agenda, we have approval of a budget amendment 555-61200-02-25-13 in the amount of $86,283 to purchase a 2014 Bluebird school bus, which will replace one that we're using now that is about 25 years old. Joe, what else can you tell us about it?
I'm here to answer questions.
Who uses the school bus?
This school bus will be mainly used for our summer day camp program. We have somewhere in the neighborhood of 350 to 500 kids in any certain week. We transport kids from Water Park Recreation Center, East Roswell Recreation Center, to the swimming pool, to other events. They go to the bowling alley, skating rinks, and other locations. We've been transporting the kids for quite a number of years. When we received the surplus buses of Fulton County Board of Education, this really opened up our whole camp program. Those buses are now no longer safe to use. We had not planned on buying another bus this year. We were planning on putting it in next year's budget. But our chief mechanic at the garage said that he pronounced this one dead and it should not be driven. And
so that's the urgency. Dead bus.
Yes, sir.
A dead bus.
On its last
Does the council have any questions? Yes, Councilmember DiPolito.
Thank you. Mr. Glover, is this a diesel engine or a gas engine?
Diesel.
Okay, so there's no
conversion
for propane?
Don't think so.
Oh, we got a hand raised in the back.
Bluebird does make a propane from using Roush technology that's dedicated.
I'm sorry, could you come to the microphone, please?
This was diesel.
We need to get you on the record. If you would state your name and address, please.
My name is Derek Whaley, and I currently don't reside in the city of Roswell. I'm a resident of Atlanta, 396 Piedmont Avenue. I apologize. As soon as our lease is up, we are out.
Come to Roswell.
Well spoken.
I have. That's not a joke either. As far as the Bluebird goes, Hall County did a test project of 20 propane buses, and they are very satisfied with them, and they're looking to, I believe, increase that to 80 for the 2013, just because primarily the savings, but they liked what they were teaching their children, reducing improving the air quality and reducing emissions, and also the diesel, which wasn't working well with them because it improved the life of the engine as well. It extended the life. So that would be something that would be very interesting. Once they get these 10 vehicles up and going and we see the true savings with them, it's from lawnmowers to school buses to other department vehicles. Sandy Springs, I believe, has about 55 from their fire department to their city administration vehicles to their police vehicles. So if you guys have any questions, Michael and I can definitely answer them.
For the purpose of this vote, we're buying a bus. I would leave it to discretion if Rec wants to look into it further on the propane.
Right.
We have a dead bus. We need approval. And
Right.
If they like to come back with us for further recommendations, but
Right.
I'd like to get a vote on this bus
Purely informational.
tonight.
Sorry. Thank you.
So we have did we get a motion and a second on the bus? Do we have a motion?
I move for approval of the budget amendment to secure the school bus to replace our dead bus.
We have a motion by Councilman Orleans. Is there a second? Second by Councilmember Wynn. Does anyone in the audience have any questions or comments? Any further discussion by council? Councilmember Wynn.
Just one. Thank God it died. I wrote on that thing like 3 years ago, and it was the most horrific thing I've ever been on, so thank God it died.
We're stretching it.
That was the bus I used to ride on, so that's his story. Councilmember Price.
It is.
But Jerry, you're used to riding those kind of vehicles.
Councilmember Price.
Just curious if there's any residual value of this bus or any creative use that we could recycle it to do something funky.
How about public art?
It may bring a little money into junkyard for scrap metal. I'm not 100% sure, but we would like to certainly get rid of them as soon as possible.
There's a junkyard between here and up north of Gainesville. It looks like the school bus graveyard. So we will certainly look into maximizing the surplus value on this bus. So we have a motion and a second. Anyone in the audience wish to comment? Any further discussion by council? All in favor of the motion, raise their hands. Passes unanimously.
Thank you.
This time we'll hear from our city attorney.
Thank you, Mayor. The first item on my agenda is the initiation of a settlement agreement for RZ 1205 and CV 1202, 12160 Etris Road, EAH Investments, land lot 1236. Last August, the mayor and council approved a rezoning on this property to R1, allowing for single-family homes, subject to 15 conditions. The applicant has sued the city. We are currently in the middle of litigation. And after discussions with the surrounding neighborhoods, the applicant has offered to dismiss their lawsuit if the council would approve a new zoning on the property that would be part R2 and part R1. I don't know if Brad, do you have a plan that you can put up?
While Brad is coming forward, do we have what neighborhoods do we have support from to settle this?
Councilmember Diamond has that information.
We've been speaking regularly with the residents on Kent Road, the one property owner on the north side, the Wexford HOA, who has been a little bit less involved on this round, but certainly been following the process and indicated as much. Edenwild, and most extensively Hamilton Commons.
And on Edenwild and Hamilton Commons, this is the homeowners association that have
Yes, this
that are
is
supporting
their
this
leadership, and they've been talking to neighbors. We'll certainly have those public hearings still to come for Planning Commission and Mayor and Council, but they have come up with this list of conditions that they would support to move this forward.
Mr. Davidson, can you describe this, or Brad, could you describe how this site plan works?
This is Idris. Kent Road is down here. On the east side, there are 3 single-family homes. That would remain the R1 designation. The R2 designation would all be west, but the individual lots that back up to Hamilton Commons would be increased in size to be comparable to the Hamilton Commons location. I believe there's also a front setback variance that would push these homes away from the properties back here and push them closer to the streets.
Does the council have any questions for Mr. Townsend? Councilmember Diamond.
Mr. Townsend, we have one question come up this afternoon. The original approval The road to Kent, was that an open road in the original approval, or was that a fire access? As the neighbors had requested it be an emergency access only.
I think there was a request from the Transportation Department originally that they would improve the road and include that as a secondary access
Right.
in and out of the development. I think it's only been with the discussions with the settlement and that point that it's been limited to emergency only.
That was my question, because I thought originally it was only an emergency access. So it is a full access as it is written now.
I believe that's the way the approval of the original R1 was.
Okay. I'd just like to verify that when we get to that point.
Okay.
Any other questions, Mr. Townsend, Ms. Price?
Yeah, at the north end, there's still a dead end to connect potentially to something else up there?
Yes, this is a future connection at this point to this future property there.
Because it doesn't look like it can do a whole lot.
In reference to what?
Well, I mean, the front lot to the whatever east of it, it looks very small, and
The road would probably design to cul-de-sac there, so you're probably looking at similar lots to these three along that location.
Well, I guess, is that y'all's preference that it come off of this street versus having access to the public road?
Yes, we would prefer them coming this location instead of accessing directly onto Kent, or onto
We have the
Idris.
authority to enforce that, I guess.
When that development comes in, yes.
Okay. Other questions? Councilmember Wynn.
I just want clarification from Mr. Davidson. Does this still have to go through the whole process except for the neighborhood meeting, or is the neighborhood meeting still part of the process?
This is a complete rezoning under our code. That's the only way we could rezone it. We are requesting an expedited process, and I don't know if Brad has the actual timing on that.
Yeah, I like to see the process, you know. Just how much time are we cutting off of this?
We're cutting off about 30 days by combining the neighborhood meeting and the planning commission meeting, which would be, if initiated this evening, on March 19th. They would have a neighborhood meeting would be before, the planning commission meeting would be after, and then the mayor and council meeting would be scheduled for April 8th.
Thank you.
Councilmember DiPolito.
Thank you. It's a little hard to see this drawing, but are we including right-of-way for that 30-foot buffer on the northern, for a future northern connection?
This location here?
Yeah. It looks like there's two lines that are continuing the right-of-way.
That's continued right-of-way to that end of the property.
Okay, so that will be dedicated to the city for a future connection?
Yes, that would be the intent, yes.
Okay, thank you.
Any other questions? Do we have a motion?
I move to initiate a settlement agreement.
Motion to initiate the settlement agreement rezoning. Is there a second?
Second.
That motion was by Councilmember Diamond, second by Councilmember Orleans. Does anyone in the audience have any questions or comments? Any further discussion by council? All in favor of the motion, raise their hands. Passes unanimously.
The final item I have is a recommendation for closure to discuss personnel litigation and real estate matters.
Do you have a motion? Motion by Councilmember Price. Do you have a second? Second by Councilmember DiPolito. All in favor of the motion, raise their hands. Passes unanimously. We're adjourned.